17 years old, just like any other kid. I was a senior in high school, just graduated actually, working at a shopping mall in, could be suburbia, anywhere. It was a suburb of Chicago, broad daylight in the middle of summer, July 13th, 1996. And at night, whenever we would leave by ourselves, we'd always usually have a security guard walk us out. We'd walk out in, a pair of women, but it was broad daylight. I didn't think anything of it. So I had a CD in my hand. I loved music. I was singing to myself and walked across the parking lot. Something tripped my trigger. I turned around. There was a man about 20 feet behind me. And to be honest, I didn't think anything of it. My face turned bright red. I thought, oh, this guy heard me singing. I was so embarrassed. And I put my key in my lock. I saw a shadow come up behind me to the left. He grabbed me, put a knife to my throat. His car was parked not even 5 feet from mine. I find out later that he had been stalking me. And he threw me in his car, bound my hands behind my back, and put Band-Aids and sunglasses on my face.
Excruciating detail of what I had told other police officers. He goes, well, I need to ask you a question that I ask all of the victims that come in here. Are you lying? And I looked him straight in the face. I said, no. He said, are you in an abusive relationship? Does your boyfriend hit you? Because sometimes girls get themselves in these situations. That was it. I stood up, I clenched my fists, and I walked out. Nothing was done on my case that night. When the police had taken photos of my lacerated wrists, they were so overexposed that they couldn't even use them in court. It's a Polaroid. But they were so convinced that I was lying, they didn't even care to retake the photos. And so that was it. I went home, and nothing was done on my case that
outside of grocery stores getting signatures on these petitions. It was something that the whole community really rallied around, and we wound up getting legislation passed in Illinois, and all these great things were happening. But all along the journey, all these people would stop me and say, Angela, thank you for your voice, because this happened to me, or my sister, or my friend, or my brother. And I was so amazed at how widespread sexual assault was, but it's so silent. And so what I came to realize is that 1 in 3 women, I mean, think about 3 women that are important to you in your life, your mother, your sister, your friend. 1 in 3 women are going to be sexually assaulted in their lifetime, and 1 in 6 men. But because it's so underreported, it's so under the radar, that people don't realize that it's such a huge problem.
Has a stake in. It's so important because in the past, sexual assault has been thought of as a woman's issue. That this is a woman's issue, it involves women. Sexual assault is a human's issue. It affects every single person, men and women. If we don't have men in our movement, we don't have a movement. Every single one of you guys has a mother or a sister or a woman in your life that you're close to. And also we know that a lot of men are survivors as well. So
they wanted to be more involved, but they weren't sure where they fit in. And it was interesting because in our town we did the annual Take Back the Night march, and men weren't allowed to be a part of it at all. They had their own private male session. And my partner was a male. My dad drove 3 hours to come support me, and he couldn't partake, and that struck me as really uncomfortable. And I had to fight tooth and nail to get men involved. I know that you need that safe place for women, very important, but then we separated it with banners and had the mixed gender space. And so when the guys wanted to be more involved, we actually launched MOSA, which was Men Opposing Sexual Assault, kind of just a campaign off a pave. And they would do everything from consciousness raising sessions to, they did this great poster campaign on our college campus with some pretty prominent male athletes talking, there's just some great messages that you can have to show men, other men, as an example that you don't have to, like my Strength Is Not for Hurting campaign, things like that. And it was interesting because the guys actually, they changed the name because they didn't want to oppose anything. They wanted to be more proactive. So instead of Men Opposing Sexual Assault, they turned into MMD, which was Men Making a Difference. And they did a lot of great work, still doing great work. Sexually Violent Persons Commitment Act. So I saw from the beginning the power of the people and the power of grassroots activism. But the whole time that this is happening to me, and I'm being outspoken on this issue, people would stop me and say, Angela, thank you for your voice. Because this happened to me, or my sister, or my brother. And it was always somebody that they knew and trusted that committed this crime. Whether it be a family member that perpetrated the crime, a date, a husband, it was always somebody that they knew. And I thought to myself, how can this be so widespread? I mean, it was everybody, old high school teachers, friends of the family.
The press secretary for the Attorney General, sobbing because of her college date rape. Angela, I've never told anyone. Literally walked into a wall because she was so upset. Everybody said to me, I've never told anyone. And my eyes opened so wide. How can this be so widespread? Nobody reported it, nobody talked about it.
So it could get to that point. And one thing I wanted to mention too is sometimes it's the invisible violence that's equally traumatizing, which means even if there aren't any bruises, even if there's nothing physical, but somebody could make you feel like you're nothing. That could be your boyfriend, your parent, somebody in your family. And I think that's so important for us to, it's not easy, but to raise above that, to say, you know what, there's no shame in being a survivor of violence, even though people make it feel like we did something.
We're coming out on one of the coldest days of the year here in Chicago. Today we're standing in solidarity with concerned citizens all across this country and Canada as well. From New York to California, North America is united today in this victims' rights rally. Thousands of people are speaking out today as we demand justice for the countless of sexual assault victims who've been silenced by the very system that's been put in place to protect them.